Hello. Welcome to the Goods. I know that you have been looking at us wearing our Fly Goods podcast gear and wondering where can we get those. Well, guess what? We have the answers for you. We have it here, Teespring. Go to Teespring and you will find all of this glorious merchandising, from t-shirts to mugs to, well, there's other toys, but we can't talk about that now. Go to Teespring, enjoy our memorabilia. And I'm back, all flash and no substance, on the solo tip like Dead Mike on CB4, but that's all right, because this is October, this is our favorite month, this is when we talk all horror. And because Terrence didn't want to, help me out on this, he didn't want to come out on this, it's okay, it's not a problem. This has to do with the best and memorable performances in horror. A lot of people aren't going to agree with these, some will, but you know what, hey, I want to hear from you, I want to know what you think are the most memorable performances in horror.
Nobody watches horror for acting performances.
That is very true. But you know what? Sometimes, the actor really makes the part, and it makes the story, and it makes the character. So that's why it's really important for the acting to really come out. And to be honest with you, when you're looking at 60s and 70s, and more 70s and 80s, the acting in horror was not as good as it was in the 60s. Because if you look at Hitchcock, and what he did with Anthony Perkins and how him and Janet Leigh and everybody did in Psycho, there was some really good acting there. I mean, hell, he had Jimmy Stewart in a lot of his films. So there were some really good actors with a lot of substance in these films. In this particular list, there's gonna be some of those, but you know what? Hey, let's get into it now, okay? And let's start with my number 5. My number 5 is Anthony Perkins. His performance in Norman Bates in Psycho is probably the root of all slasher horror, 70s and 80s. Now, obviously, you're gonna have Michael Myers as the character that launched horror, because you had the copycats from Prom Night, you had the copycats of Friday the 13th. You had all of these copycats, that actually shaped up what 80s horror was going to be, especially with the subgenre of slasher. But it all started with Norman Bates and Psycho, and Alfred Hitchcock was absolutely brilliant in a lot of the things that he did in directing this film, and Perkins in the role. Hell, there's even ties to Halloween with Janet Leigh, who plays Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. Who is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother? Who plays the victim in Psycho, the shower victim in Psycho, and the detective is named Sam Loomis, and that is also another tie to Dr. Sam Loomis in Halloween. But Perkins was brilliant. He, I don't think he missed a beat whatsoever when he carried it to Psycho 2, but it was Psycho that he was just mesmerizing in that performance. So that was my number 5. Number 4! My number 4 is Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. Man. When you got The Fly in the 50s and 60s, whenever that movie came out, I want to say 50s. And you got Vincent Price, one of the best actors in horror ever. Mount Rushmore for sure. He had to take that to a whole different level. And when you have Cronenberg's direction, you got Chris Wallace's makeup. Jeff Goldblum did not skip a beat as Seth Brundle. His performance, he had your eyes glued to this, more glue than any of the prosthetics that helped keep his ear together, but it's okay. But he carried that film. Gina Davis was great, John Getz was great, but Goldblum made that film. You watch that film strictly for Goldblum's performance, and always going to be one of my favorites. So number 4. Number 3 comes from an actress who has absolutely no luck with kids, and that's Toni Collette. Toni Collette in Hereditary is absolutely phenomenal. And when, Collette was, I remember her in comedies, Muriel's Wedding, stuff like that, and now with Knives Out, but when she attaches herself to horror, she gives it just as much commitment when it comes to the craft than any freaking dramatic or comedy film that she's ever done. She gives it all in this film, and she is phenomenal. There is nothing that is just like I mean, it's just nothing short of friggin' just mesmerizing of how she acts in that film. And her death scene of self-infliction is probably one of the most brutal and haunting images that I have ever seen. So I'm giving it up straight up for Toni Collette, number 3 in Hereditary. Number 2! Number 2, come on, Jack! Shining, done. That's it. That's all you gotta say. Just Jack. All you gotta say is Jack. Where's he at? Jack, right there. Jack Nicholson is pretty much an icon. He's a Hollywood legend. Films As Good As It Gets, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Sure, you can give him all the Oscars. Sure, absolutely. But for flat out his gifts as when it comes to his facial expressions, his mannerisms, his full expression of madness, it's all The Shining. I'm like, he is The Shining. He is absolutely everything that is phenomenal about that movie. Kubrick was brilliant in the way he directed that film, brilliant in how he directed him, but when you start seeing the slow dive into madness that he goes through, and not to take anything away from Shelley Duvall, but you know, Jack's performance just makes that film. And much like Goldblum in The Fly, you know, he just mesmerizes you with everything that he puts out there. All of his acting, all of his facial expressions, all of his I mean, just his pure you know, profanity filled freaking rants that he does. And he just keeps you guessing the whole time. And it's just phenomenal performance. One of the tops of all time in horror. That performance has to go down to probably one of the greatest in horror, period. So, number 2. Number 1! My number 1 that can even come close to rivaling Jack Nicholson in Shining is Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. Now, anybody can say that Silence of the Lambs is a suspense thriller, like Terrence over there. Similar to what Seven was, similar to the style of The Bone Collector, and all of these cold cases and forensic files type of films. Sure, in a lot of ways, yeah, you're right. But there is a horror element that you cannot, you know, eliminate. You can't, because the horror is in your face. You know, everything that Buffalo Bill does is pretty brutal, and a lot of the stuff that they find, very brutal. So Lecter himself, like Hannibal Lecter, is a you know, started out. Brian Cox actually portrayed Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter before Silence of the Lambs came out, but and he did a really good job too. But it was nothing compared to the psychology that Anthony Hopkins put into this role, because the role of Hannibal Lecter is, you know, that of a savant. He is an intellectual, and he is absolutely insane. So his performance in that role, I think that it made it more appealing, because he was not the main focus of the film. And he was given to you in parts, but every part that he was in delivered, and it stuck with you, every single piece of it, to the point where when they gave you full Lecter in Hannibal, it didn't hit the same. It did not hit the same. So, you know, his bits and every piece that he contributed to Silence of the Lambs was mesmerizing, gave him the Oscar, one of the first actors to receive an Oscar in a horror film in acting, and you know, nobody can top that. So Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins, best, most mesmerizing performance I've ever seen on film. All right, here we go. Honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. I got to give it up to Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018. Her portrayal of Laurie Strode in a PTSD state was it was a part of Jamie Lee Curtis that I had never seen before. So yeah, phenomenal performance in that. Kiefer Sutherland in The Lost Boys. Okay. You know, you come out of being the bad guy in Stand By Me, and now you're David the vampire in The Lost Boys. Yeah, I'm all for that one. He was the reason why everybody went to go see this film. I'll tell you that right now. Yep. How about Chloe Grace Moretz in Let Me In? Wow, for her to be so young, and this was a remake that happened, and that came out from a remake of an overseas film. A European film. I can't remember what country, But Chloe Grace Moretz was phenomenal in this movie. I mean, she plays a vampire, but to be so young and to give so much emotion, vulnerability, she was just amazing in that. So I'm gonna give it to that. Hey man, how about Donald Pleasance, 78, baby, as Sam Loomis?
Oh yeah.
This was before he was falling asleep talking about Michael Myers. This was when he actually took before it was Michael Myers. You know, before all that, he was actually, yeah, exactly. That should have been the subtitle. Halloween, give him his check, Sam Loomis. But he took all of that acting that he did. You know, I mean, hell, he was in a James Bond film. You know, oh yeah. So to take that type of acting and bring it to horror, yeah, he's part of the reason for Halloween's success. So I'm definitely gonna give Donald Pleasance in the first Halloween, the first one. Not the other ones. No. Cronenberg in Nightbreed, man. David Cronenberg is phenomenal in Nightbreed. He is just, he's menacing with a soft tone. He is just he's a freaking cobra. That's what he is. Sly, smooth, and lethal, and fatal. And he's just played it to perfection. So I'm gonna give it up for Cronenberg in Nightbreed. Now this is pure body language, but I'm gonna give it to Kane Hodder on Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. This was the first film that Kane Hodder did as Jason, but he gave Jason just a body language that you have never seen before in any of the Friday the 13th that came before him. Not even 6 when he was already zombified and all that. Not even that. 4 was really probably the best of all of the live Jasons. That's probably the best movie. But Part 7. Kane Hodder's performance as Jason, pure body language, body movement, his breathing, how he became more like he was building up his aggression to attack. He was a bear. He was a big bear in this movie, and it just you saw Jason a little bit different once Kane Hodder got a hold of the role. So Kane Hodder on Friday 7. And my second to last, is I got to give it up to Jane Levy in Evil Dead 13, man. I got to give it up. Jane Levy in Evil Dead 13. Yeah. She played Mia. She was phenomenal in that movie. I cannot see anybody outside of her playing that role. It was a deleted scene, but the "we're gonna get you" scene in the cellar, nobody could have freaking done what she did in that with that makeup. She was brilliant in that movie, and I really, really hope that if they make another Evil Dead, they demonize her again. And the last one is it hits a soft spot, but you know what, it's okay. And that's for the late great Heather O'Rourke in Poltergeist. For a little girl, and I just mentioned Chloe Grace Moretz, who was phenomenal in Let Me In, but for a little girl to come out like that in 1982 and to work with somebody like Tobe Hooper and to give a performance that way, like that, to where her hands on a static TV is pop culture. You know, it's pop culture history. It's pop culture. One of the best in pop culture lore.
It's up there with like.
She's right there.
It's up there with the phone with a receiver because nobody's TV goes static anymore.
That's very true. But her performance though in this movie. She starts off, really innocent, and then she goes into all of her, hysteria, and she's scared. She's still scared and everything once she comes out, but she is just absolutely phenomenal for her being so young. I think she was at least 5 or 6 years old when she did this movie, and just to have that kind of focus.
And she's like, "Where's my check?"
Yeah, and then she started Michael Myers. So the late great Heather O'Rourke, rest in peace to this day, but you were phenomenal in Poltergeist. I got to give you that nod there. So, all right, Terrence, take us home. He's not taking us home. All right.
Not even a show.
Hey, let us know what you think about the most memorable performances in horror. Horror gets a lot of flack for the acting, and rightfully so in some cases, but there are a lot of damn good performances in horror that you just cannot deny, and you got to give credit to. And hopefully one day the Academy will actually, really look at horror and take horror seriously, and give it the recognition it deserves. So, but give us your comments below on what you think are the most memorable performances in horror. Hit like, subscribe to this video, and hit us up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. Don't even bother hitting up Terrence on Facebook because he's never gonna see it. And hit up our Patreon. We absolutely appreciate anything that is given to us from Patreon and our Teespring. We have a lot of new T-shirts and T-shirt designs, masks, and all that good stuff for y'all to be safe. So you can get your goods merchandise at teespring.com. For Terrence on the couch doing absolutely nothing, I'm Manny. There he goes. Aspen Art, wherever the hell they're at. We'll see you next time.
Real quick, if you're still here, because we do these into the video little blooper things. If you're still here, look down. There's a link here for Patreon. If you guys like the show, please give us money. We'll take a penny. We'll take a nickel. We'll take a dime. We'll take $1. We have some stuff on there that we're giving away on Patreon if you do contribute, because trust me, we need help. We want to buy new equipment, and we need an editor. Somebody who doesn't have to stay up in the middle of the night. Or they don't have to stay up in the middle, but I won't have to do it. So please, down, patreon.com/thegoods. It's in the link. Please do it. We appreciate it. Top flight.